Hello friends, I'm on FireSide Chat with Sriram. Flowserve is a director for global supply chain. Hello Sriram, welcome to the...
Hey, nice meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we would like to start with your introduction and about something brief about your organization.
Okay, my name is Sriram Satish. People call me as Sriram. It's nice to have Sriram name.
Yeah.
And I'm a director for, as you said, director for global supply chain and located in India. I cover all the Asia Pacific sourcing piece of Flowserve. Flowserve is a US multinational company based in Texas, in Dallas, and we are about $4 to $5 billion US dollar company, having locations in 25 different countries and 60 different manufacturing locations. And plus, we have something called QRC concept, where we have more than about 240 different small setups, which actually serves customer nearby. It's a quick response center for aftermarket piece.
What are the key challenges in supply chain? Because it's you are handling global supply chain. You manage different different geography, different kind of people, different kind of processes, different kind of regulation. What are the challenges you face managing?
There are 2 or 3 very important things what is happening today in supply chain area. Previously, it used to be just a procurement, and today it's not procurement, right? It is creating end-to-end value, and probably the P2P process, procurement to pay process, and even before procurement to pay process, something called sourcing to contract, and even before that, something called category management and putting some kind of a roadmaps, and those things are today. It's very important for supply chain to be functioning in a company, and delivering value to the immediate customer, which is operations most of the time, and then to the final customers. The biggest challenge is that moving from a procurement mindset into a strategic role which supply chain is playing these days. Most of the companies, if they're traditional, they view procurement as the piece of another function, which is like accounting process or maybe a quality check process. But most of the company, they don't understand that procurement can either make the company or break the company, because and most of the time, we are the people who actually deliver more in terms of their OI and financial performance, basically OI, revenue, or booking. So the challenge is mindset, one. And second challenge is the technology changeover, what is taking place today. It used to be on those days like, oh yeah, I'm sending a PO to you, and put an envelope and mail it, and then slowly it moved into I am sending a PO by email. But today it's like we're all connected, right? So for us, before even just sending a PO, cutting a PO to a supplier, what we actually have today is, after that and before, there are hundreds of things which you have to manage, which is drastically changing. I've seen in some of the forum in UK, London recently, that there is something called RPA robot. So it's kind of a bot, like your repetitive things are always performed by a bot. And then we have big data coming up. You have artificial intelligence building in, and previously a barcode was a big thing.
Yeah.
Today it is altogether different.
So
2 things. One is on changing the mindset and then embracing the technology. And third is also regionally, as you say, we try to manage, sitting in one place, try to manage and different cultural people and different, they come with a different background, the cultures are different, the language is different. This is another big challenge that global supply chain will face if you do not have managing capabilities or understanding that culture and behavior as what they want. And then also, this is not only for the employees, it also gives a similar challenge even managing the suppliers. So these are 3 major challenges, I think. Right now, the supply chain need to focus and get it out, apart from the company strategy, which should be focused on supply chain most of the time, rather than focusing only on the numbers, financial numbers. Most of the companies focus on financial numbers, from where it is coming and then deeper dive, then you will find that it is coming from supply chain.
Okay, so I think you are right. It's a very complex word actually. You are managing, so that you need the biggest to start with. You need to manage the people, and what is that you do in getting the people who have a global supply chain, a global mindset, and ability to adapt the current requirement. How do you manage that?
Guys said there are 3 P's again here. One is that internal stakeholders should recognize that supply chain is not something who is just doing what they want, and we need to empower the people. To empower the people, we need to definitely have the training, multi-structural training, which is not just how to negotiate, how to procure, but you need to actually know that they have to be trained on personal skills. They need to train on the culture. They need to actually train on technology side, and not that alone.
Can you give 1 or 2 examples of what you are doing actually?
Okay, my team is located in different places. So for me, bringing them together every time is a huge cost. But when I bring them on a personal training, or make them feel that they're empowered, definitely that my stakeholders think that my team is empowered because of the way how I behave. First one. The second one is something like your competitors view what you have, kind of a classroom program or any other external training agencies and things which they actually can add value specific to supply chain and the cultural piece of it. I've done recently a number of trainings, sometimes even I do myself because virtue of my experience and also gone through a lot of trainings in my life. It was easy even for me to train them, but more importantly, that they should become more professional. Otherwise, they should not be working like a clerk, right? So this is the biggest training which we have to give to the HR piece.
So what is kind of mix you have? How do you manage you have a large number of experienced people, or you also recruit fresher and train them, develop them? What is the model you operate in?
We do both. On a critical areas where you have to have the knowledge about the products, knowledge about the supply chain and how the supply chain is moving, you need to have somebody who is little experienced. But we also have examples where we got them as a trainee and then moved them up into a ladder, and they become managers in 5 years, 6 years. So talent is available. As you rightly said, how are you training is a good question for me, because unless you train them, it's like if your bottom line is fully trained, and you can focus on your strategy rather than looking at each and every piece of it. And we have both a model where we recruit also the mid-level management and also trainees like management trainees or engineering trainees, and build them up.
So what you keep in mind developing leadership pipeline in your organization?
We have, as a company, also have succession programs. We have very specific assignments allocated to, we call it as the succession program, but we also have individuals who recognize for their contributions and then their traits and then their professional deliverables. And based on that, they move up in the ladder with something called high pot. And for those people, we even give international assignments or high visibility projects, those kind of a thing. So what happens is that if someone leaves, and we have always a bench strength to fill it up, and we have a program clearly saying, hey, this is the position and this is the guy who is into this. If you put this four or five assignments or training programs, he would probably become filling this position in next 2 to 3 years. So we have that. As a company, it's a people-oriented company. We have excellent process to build the people up.
So since you have a huge experience about the supply chain, about demand supply side, which is the planning side of the life, other than the actual execution, actual manufacturing take place, actual product produce, and comes to the distribution center and then goes to customer. Can you throw some light about manufacturing side of the supply chain, or how different is it compared to the planning side of it?
As a company, first of all, we are a very complex organization. As I said, we have multi-locations, and our products are ranging from a small valve of this size or a pump of this size to probably 3-4 times of this size valves and pumps and so on, and goes in different applications, right? So on the manufacturing side, the biggest challenge probably in supply chain is demand versus supply, because we are more into the project business, and as well as some portion of it is regular, we call it as industrial products, and some are is highly engineered projects. On the demand supply side, what is important in the manufacturing sector is knowing the suppliers' capacity available, and also fixing suppliers based on the commodities, and we have to create kind of a roadmap, so that if there is some project is coming today of this nature, and this all the kind of categories or commodities which you want, you should be able to pinpoint to go to those suppliers, and go to those areas where we have already booked the capacity. And market dynamics are too many. For example, now things are moving from China to India a lot in manufacturing, so most of the suppliers are getting filled up with their capacity. So we have to go in advance and then say we kind of a frame agreement or long-term agreement or MSAs, with performance deliverables. If you book the suppliers their capacity, we should be able to get a headway. So this is on a very highly dynamic and volatile market situation. The key is to have the good partnership with the suppliers.
You ensure the better fittings and better, so they stay with you, and
yeah,
you get a
better support,
good supply actually.
Yeah, good support from suppliers. Irrespective of what is what, there is element of always, I would say the bow which takes place sometimes. Oh yeah, some of the project we want to go tomorrow, and we should know where to go. So that's why I said, we have to create a category-based roadmaps, and then the long-term kind of agreements, and which should be win-win, and it should be always performance-based contracts and so on. So suppliers are able to give us a lot of support. And manufacturing, unlike automobile, I had been experienced in automobile. I was with Bosch and Suzuki. The big difference between them and the project kind of business what we are in is this.
So I have we are always saying this is a win-win situation, but the reality is the organization wants to always deliver a better profitability, better price, therefore better sales, and thereby better profitability. That's how the model. And also at the same time, supplier cost need to keep coming down, product cost need to keep coming. How do you manage cost actually? Because keeping a win-win situation, and still how do you manage the cost?
Okay, win-win situation means it doesn't mean that the price will be down.
Okay.
Win-win situation means how much value which supplier is able to deliver to you.
Okay.
And what is their performances. Straight away their performance affects my performance, and so is my inflow of orders and execution piece of it. So from a supplier point of view, if there need to be reduction in price, from my perspective and the company perspective where Flowserve where I'm working, it is not something which we really want to tighten supplier for the prices. I have a big challenge right now in China, where I need to reduce some of the product costs by 20%. I'm not looking at that by reducing supplier price. The cost plus model, whatever we have, if you go to a supplier and ask them, hey, I want a price reduction of 10%, what the message you are giving? You are giving a message to them, hey, cut your profit and give me. But we work with the supplier. We have something like a supplier performance model, and we have a joint process improvement with suppliers. We have value engineering. We have design to value. So we also work internally to see that we optimize what we are asking to the supplier.
Okay.
And that's very critical piece.
So basically you collaborate with supplier and figure out what is the right way to reduce the cost.
Yes.
Which without losing both the side actually.
Yes. And more importantly, the value what we are creating together. It's critical to create the value rather than just working on the price. Price is a small factor, but the value what you create is a big factor. I have a lot of examples on where we can have actually supplier coming up and then say, hey, Sriram, and this is the which I can give you. Don't ask me price reduction, but can we work it out? I would, when I put the numbers in, which is obviously we need to know because we need to be profitable, and I say that whatever I asked him in terms of price reduction is much lower than what he was giving. He was giving much better. Because they're experts in their field, we need to leverage that.
So you are right. So you are saying you are able to manage this. So one more thing, most of the supply chain professionals, because we say the marketing, selling is the most favorite side of the CEO because they are the one who bring the order, they are the one who generate the demand. Correct? So the supply chain professionals, people who always are in last mile, even if everything designer would have delayed the designing, anything happened, but the delivery of the product has to happen on that particular day without fail. So a lot of pressure comes. What are the kind of experience people go through and in terms of frustration, in terms of pressure, and how do you motivate your people? And can you just tell us something about that? That part of the life.
That's a good question, to be very frank, because people used to say purchasing is a thankless job, but supply chain is a thankful job today, because more and more companies start realizing supply chain is adding value rather than just doing what we say. Previously, we used to get a purchase requisition and somebody has to send the PO, as I gave an example,
yes.
just go. But today, you get involved from strategy development and to the end product and then deliver to customer. We have also in the company something called advanced procurement, where we upfront move along with the sales and the we call it as CSOA.
Okay.
It is customer support organization. With them we work together in advance, and we also very mindful of selecting the product what we are supposed to use it for that particular application to the customer, and also what are the accessories which we have to bring in and who are the suppliers. We try to fix as much as possible well in advance. So your project management will not go very bad because you know in advance that you are going to do this, and supplier knows because we also contact suppliers and bring them on board. And so, as I said, when I link it to, one is on the capacity of the supplier side, and the second one is on performance-based contracts. Actually, what happens? It actually delivers more than what we are, and it doesn't mean that we don't have a problem at all in terms of delivery when it comes to shorten delivery every project. But planning in advance, like advanced procurement, and then bringing supplier on board early, actually helps a lot. While people side of it, what you say, getting frustrated side. It takes place, but there's a lot of stress busters, but it is individual. Like somebody want to overwork and then learn, and then somebody want to have more money for their what they're trying to do, and somebody probably want to do as oh yeah, companies want me to do, so I'm doing. So when this kind of a category people are bringing together, what is important is the team dynamics. Somebody has to pick the pattern and run when there is issues like this. So there are a lot of motivated people available, and definitely it is like I said, right? I had a Asia Pacific conference in one of a very leading supply chain professional conference, where my team got in Asia Pacific the best team award in Singapore. So how we are motivating the team now. Yeah.
How do you? Since I take liberty in asking you a question like, what you do to motivate your vendors? Do you do vendor meets, or I don't know how? I mean, what the method you use to develop a vendor, to motivate your vendors?
I am a believer of communication. So we need to meet vendor. There are 3 or 4 different way of communication with vendor. One is obviously email, and then those kind of a thing. And what I also do is we have a supplier summit we do that regionally, for example India, China, and so on. That's one thing where we give
how often you do that?
Every alternate year or so.
That's quite good.
Yeah, quite good. And then during the time we also give awards, right? So somebody is working with us for 20 years, we give a year award, and somebody has done an innovation, we give innovation award. somebody who has reduced the cost of a product, we give them a competitive cost award, and somebody has embraced lean manufacturing, somebody embraced continuous improvement programs. So we give a different category of awards to supplier every alternate year so that they understand. And then I also have, we call it a supplier town hall call. I have 2 town hall call with the suppliers. All the suppliers, maybe 150, 200 selected suppliers will be participating over the phone, and I'll be delivering about what strategies and what is the performance of my company, whatever is in public. I'm not going to tell them something which is internal. And then, you know, how the suppliers, overall suppliers performance in the region has gone up, and that helps suppliers to understand. And then we also have the third one, which is very systematic business review meeting with key suppliers.
Okay.
It is very important that though we have a lot of our guys going to supplier, maybe quality guy or purchasing guys, or we call technical buyers who are going to supplier and, you know, negotiating, talk and all these things. But what happens if they hear, I spend time with the key suppliers. I go personally to suppliers' place.
So you do a proper business review with them.
Absolutely.
And you do yearly planning?
Yes, business review planning yearly, and yeah.
That's very good. I think this is where so you have a holistic view basically. You look your customer, you look your employee, you look your supplier. So all stakeholders are covered. So that actually you will get a better result, you know, because there's no risk of losing any side actually.
Yeah, because you said stakeholders, there are one more important stakeholders which we should not miss is the operations.
Okay.
Because of manufacturing, right? So operations are very important to us, because supply chain is not, supply chain is a cross collaborative function. It is not an independent function. Interdependency is very heavy. Anybody who does a mistake in engineering, you know, we need to be supporting them to bring up the salient points which will keep the costs optimized. I don't want to say cost reduction, I want to say very specifically cost optimized.
I think thank you so much for sharing most wonderful insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sriram.
Yeah.